Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jim Palermo. I was a member of the All-Catholic High School Orchestra from 1973 to 1978. I'm delighted to be here today with all of you. Most people can remember at least one teacher who impacted their lives. Teachers shape the future because they influence the minds of tomorrow's adults. Albert Einstein said, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." This is especially true for the person who chooses to educate in the fine arts. And sometimes it takes years for the adult to look back, realize, and truly appreciate what they learned from that very special teacher. Today we are here precisely for that reason, to look back and appreciate the life and influence of an extraordinary man, Mr. Wayne F. Miller. We're here to pay tribute and fill our afternoon with cherished memories, funny stories, and heartfelt anecdotes. Before we begin, it is fitting that someone from the parish and school so closely identified with Mr. Miller welcome us to this sacred space. I'm honored to introduce Father John T. Carlin, pastor of St. Charles Borromeo Parish.
It's been my privilege to serve St. Charles Parish for 31 years, and only shortly after I came here, I began to hear stories about someone who had just completed his professional association with the parish a few short months before I arrived here. It's altogether fitting that we gather here at St. Charles, where more than a quarter century of that man's life was dedicated. He served this parish at a time when there were more than 2,400 children in our day school, making it the largest elementary school in the state of Ohio. Beyond that, I began to meet people who had been affected by what this man had done. People who came back who said they played in symphony orchestras or sang at the opera, or that somewhere in their time a spark of interest and a talent had been discovered and awakened by this good man. And so it is altogether fitting and proper that we come here today to honor the memory of Wayne Miller. I would meet him in later years. He often went to church over in the hall. I remember talking to him over there on a number of occasions. He was someone who did not present himself immediately, or did not brag, did not talk about his many, many accomplishments, and there were many. But I soon found in our archives recordings of orchestras by children from grade school years, and I know he moved on not just here at St. Charles Parish, but through many in the Parma area, that his talent and his abilities recognized the talents and abilities in others and called them forth. I cannot imagine the numbers of young men and women who were affected by this great and good and very, very talented man. So we welcome, first of all, the members of his family who join us here for this concert here today, and to all of you who have gathered here on a very beautiful afternoon to celebrate the memory of this great and good man. Some people come in and out of our lives and leave little effect. Other people come and do a tremendous amount, and their work is not forgotten. More than 30 years after Wayne Miller completed his work here, his memory is still revered very highly. People still talk about his talents and what he did for 25 years in this parish, from the late 50s until the early 80s. In 1666, London was destroyed by a great fire. King Charles II asked the most notable architect of the time to rebuild the city. The man's name was Sir Christopher Wren. He built palaces and great government buildings and more than 51 beautiful churches on a very grand scale. One of those people who just seemed to, even though just one person, accomplished more than many other people could do together. And when he died, a group of people got together and said, what kind of memorial could we erect in the name of this great and good man who did so much? And a member of his family said simply, if you seek his memorial, look about you. See the work that he accomplished. He does not need any separate memorial, but his memorial is seen in the great work that he did. And this memorial concert this afternoon for Wayne Miller, if you seek his memorial, look about you. To the young men and women, the older men and women, for those who've gone on in music, for those who have a love of music, there is his memorial in their hearts and in our midst today. And in that spirit, I welcome you all to St. Charles Parish. God bless the memory and good work of Wayne Miller.
At the time of his illness, Mr. Miller's family was compiling a tribute book to him, portions of which he saw. Here is an excerpt from clarinetist and composer Kim Wilson-Merkel, who now lives in Germany with her husband's son and daughter. Your teaching was a priceless gift, and your words were filled with wisdom and humor. My music lessons and rehearsals with you were very special and highlights of my childhood. I don't know if I could ever have learned to play in rhythm without your idea for the little up-down markings in the music. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, with love and respect. With love and respect, we begin with a work by Antonio Vivaldi, written in 1711 as part of a larger collection of violin concertos subtitled Harmonic Inspiration. Harmonic Inspiration is a fitting subtitle for today's celebration, as that phrase epitomizes the focus of Mr. Miller's professional career. These concertos helped cement Vivaldi's reputation and are described as perhaps the most influential collection of instrumental music to appear during the whole of the 18th century. And now, Vivaldi's concerto in B minor for 4 violins. Mr. Miller loved the sound of the violin, so much that he and Mrs. Miller influenced two of their daughters not only to study the violin, but become professional violinists. He really believed that the meditation from Thais had an extraordinary beauty to it, especially the long lyrical lines that fill the work. The meditation is essentially a symphonic entr'acte between the scenes of Act 2. In the first scene of Act 2, a monk confronts Thais, a beautiful and hedonistic devotee of Venus, and attempts to persuade her to leave her life of luxury and pleasure to find salvation through God. It is during a time of reflection following the encounter that the meditation is played by the orchestra. In the second scene of Act 2, following the meditation, Thais tells the monk that she will follow him to the desert. Here is Beth Miller to perform the meditation from Jules Massenet's opera, Thais. Sleep Now became one of Mr. Miller's favorite pieces when he heard his granddaughter, Olivia Bowen, perform it on Chicago's WFMT radio introductions program. When Laurie called to tell her mom that Olivia was also working on the famous aria O mio babbino caro from Puccini's Gianni Schicchi for an audition, Mrs. Miller told Laurie that it was Wayne's favorite soprano solo and asked if Olivia might consider singing it at this memorial concert. She immediately agreed. How appropriate that this summer Olivia will sing this very aria when she portrays the soprano role of Loretta in Oberlin in Italy's program in Arezzo, Tuscany. Olivia wants Grandpa to know that this is especially for him. Mr. Miller and Laurie used to debate the greatness of their favorite composers. Laurie loved Beethoven and Mr. Miller Brahms. One year, when one of the parents' groups asked which composer was Mr. Miller's favorite, Laurie told them Beethoven and ran home to tell her mom that she had won the argument. Imagine Mr. Miller's surprise when he was gifted with a beautiful bust of Beethoven for the Christmas holidays. Laurie was delighted, but not nearly as delighted as she is today, to dedicate this performance of the first movement of the Brahms Horn Trio to her father's memory. Joining Laurie to perform the music of Mr. Miller's favorite composer is her husband, John Bowen, and Jim Hausman. This trio of musicians performed the Brahms 25 years ago in Chicago, and its members are thrilled to be reunited on this very special occasion. It is with great pleasure that I have the honor to announce a special guest who has rearranged his schedule in order to be with us today to honor the memory and accomplishments of Wayne Miller. A product of the Parma City School District, this internationally acclaimed opera star has graced the stages of the Metropolitan Opera House in New York, Carnegie Hall, the Paris Opera, Lyric Opera of Chicago, the Washington Opera, and the San Francisco Opera, just to name a few. He has recorded extensively with EMI Classics London and the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden Orchestra. He has regularly appeared with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Chicago Symphony Orchestra, Los Angeles Philharmonic, and the Ensemble Orchestral de Paris. He will be appearing next month with our own Cleveland Orchestra for the 5th time in their upcoming production of Janacek's The Cunning Little Vixen before traveling to the Saito Kinen Festival in Matsumoto, Japan. He will continue his close association with the Metropolitan Opera and the Lyric Opera of Chicago in the coming season and begins a multi-year performance and recording project of Richard Wagner's epic Ring Cycle with the Hong Kong Philharmonic beginning in 2015. Here to sing O du mein holder Abendstern from Wagner's Tannhäuser, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Cangellosi.
Yeah.
And now I'd like to introduce one of Mr. Miller's favorite students. He has a few words and would like to announce his selection. After his performance, there'll be an intermission. Mr. Larry Herman.
Thank you, Jim. The last piece on the first half of the program is not a very long piece. In fact, it'll probably take me longer to talk about it than it will be to perform it. It's not a musically very important piece. Trumpeter's Lullaby is probably more personally significant, certainly to me and to the family. But first of all, I want to say that one of the reasons it's significant to me is because when I was a student at Padua in as a sophomore, we made a recording. We decided, Mr. Miller decided we would make a recording. And he asked me, although asked me, I'm not sure is the right terminology, if I would play Trumpeter's Lullaby on the recording. So, which I was able to do, and with a little reverb, it actually sounded pretty good. So it appears on this album, if anyone knows that word, album that we made back in 1968 at Padua. And so I have always been grateful to him for that, because I have that connection to him and the Padua band making that recording, and it's something that I have always, for myself, preserved on vinyl. Now, can anyone tell me where I can play one of these things? Well, secondly, the reason that today's performance is significant is that I'm going to play Mr. Miller's trumpet. So, excuse me. So, and when Mrs. Miller handed it into my custody last year, and I took it home and played it, and it's really a wonderful instrument and in great shape. But I had one slide on it that was stuck, so I took it to the repairman. I took it to Greg Moore, and I said, "Can you unstick this slide for me?" And I said, "This is Wayne Miller's trumpet." Well, he didn't know Mr. Miller, but he certainly knew him by reputation, and so he got very excited. And he said, he said, "Wait a minute, this little ding right here, can I take that out for you?" And I said, "No, I don't want you." He goes, "Well, let me take let me give it a real good industrial bath and everything." I said, "Nope." I said, "I want the ding, I want the dirt, I want the dust, I want the DNA, I want it all. I want it to be..." I said, "I want this to be Mr. Miller's trumpet. This will always be Mr. Miller's trumpet. So I want it just like it was when he played it." So, if that wasn't enough significance to attach to this one little Leroy Anderson piece, I want to say how special it is that I get to play with these four people. Carol on cello, Anita on viola, and these two wonderful violinists, Lori and Beth, who you have heard. And so, although I'm not playing Trumpeter's Lullaby with a band, I'm playing it with the string quartet. And I remember these two wonderful violinists when they were little girls and always seemed to be sitting in the front row at my concerts, both at St. Charles and at Padua. So this is a special treat for me. And true to my word, short and sweet, here's Trumpeter's Lullaby.
now that we have your attention. It's no secret to any of us that Mr. Miller had a sharp tongue. Mark that with a purple crayon. You have ice water in your veins. Don't tickle the drum, hit it. That cymbal crash sounded like 2 garbage cans falling down the stairs. Do you have tired blood? Do you need Geritol? Is counting against your religion? That's my favorite one, actually. Where did you buy that reed? At Uncle Bill's? It's the valve closest to your nose. That reed is dead. You ought to bury it. Wake up, think, be alert. Do it once before you graduate. That rhythm is in the Bellwind Band Builder #1, Exercise 21. That sounds too much like Lawrence Welk. And the list goes on. But Mr. Miller, we thank God every day for you, for your tough love, for inspiring us, and for all that you stood for. Your integrity and steadfast love of music guided all your students, their parents, and the teachers with whom you worked. As the Bible says, the Lord's people feast at his table upon the provisions of his love. You offered all of us a place in your precious musical family. We were invited to sit at your table, and the feast you offered has never been forgotten. Kathy Makowski de Blasi currently is assistant band director at Parma Senior High School and served as instrumental music director at Padua Franciscan High School from 1994 until 2011. Kathy will introduce our next selection.
It was a little over a year ago when Lori Miller called me to be on the committee for the Wayne F. Miller Memorial Concert. I thought, how could I honor a man that has been such an influence in my life? So I commissioned Clarence Barber, a clinician and composer, and an active performer whose music has been widely performed in the United States and abroad. As you know, Mr. Miller was an excellent trumpet player, so I asked Clarence to make sure there was a trumpet solo. Today it'll be played by his former student, Larry Herman, again on Mr. Miller's trumpet, which he willed to Larry. I have to admit, I was a little selfish and also requested a clarinet solo to represent me. This will be played by Marty Kaminsky, also a former student of Mr. Miller. Within a week, Clarence had a piece written called Valedictory. Valedictory means a speech that expresses good wishes for someone who is leaving, the act of saying goodbye in a formal way. So this piece is a farewell message put to music from all the people's lives he has influenced. Thank you, husband, father, grandpa, brother, friend, mentor, colleague, Mr. Miller, Uncle Wayne. I also will be conducting with Mr. Miller's baton that he gave me. Thank you for the privilege to conduct this piece, and thank you to all the musicians here on the altar as we present the first performance of Valedictory.
Before we conclude today's celebration, Kathy DeBlasi has a presentation to make to the Miller family. Will Mrs. Miller, Laura, Dawn, and Beth please come to the front of the altar?
In memory of today, I took the score of valedictory, and I had Clarence Barber put his John Hancock on it, and I put it in a frame so you could remember today. And Mrs. Miller, yours is a little bit more special. Yours is in a shadow box, and you have a copy of each part from the score.
On behalf of Mrs. Judy Miller, Laura, Dawn, and Beth Miller, and the organizing committee for this afternoon's tribute, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for attending today in honor of Mr. Miller. His family is touched by the enormous outpouring and love and support you have shown, and is indebted to you for your kindness. Please, please, please join us immediately after the final work for a dessert reception in the school gymnasium. The organizing committee for this event decided to program Vaclav Nelibel's arrangement of A Mighty Fortress for two reasons. Mr. Miller had excellent soloists in every section of his all-star orchestra, and while it was written in a very difficult fugal form, he felt it was a wonderful piece that his students would learn a lot by performing. One year, at a national music convention in Pittsburgh, the all-Catholic high school orchestra performed a full concert that featured A Mighty Fortress as the finale. As is the custom, a line to greet and congratulate the conductor followed the program. Toward the end of the line, a quiet, humble man with a thick Czech accent introduced himself and said it was the best performance of the work he had ever heard. That man was Vaclav Nelibel. And now to conclude today's program, we have an ensemble full of Mr. Miller's graduates performing A Mighty Fortress.